Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. College football week 5 recap, folks. Was the biggest weekend to date in the slate of this season of college football. It was the most heartbreaking that you could imagine for myself and Tyson, as both our teams, LSU and Penn State, lose. We're going to talk about that in the big games that we're going to recap. We're going to go through a bunch of the leftovers, like different things that happened. Another coach got fired as we're really churning this carousel here in college football, folks. And, of course, we're going to give out some of our superlatives for the week at the end. But before we jump into that, Tyson, did you think this slate lived up to the hype coming out of Saturday?
What do you think, brother? I mean, yeah. I do. The Georgia-Bama game was awesome. It was mostly like the night stuff that was really awesome. But we started it off Virginia beating Florida State, pretty crazy game there, and then it was just kind of hum for a little bit in that morning slate. But we had some bangers there, some really good games, and then Illinois USC was awesome. Penn State Oregon was obviously awesome. Ole Miss LSU was a good game. Alabama Georgia was a good game. It was a full college football Saturday. Dude, somebody lost their job. Some people were elated, and some narratives held true, man. It sucks for us.
Yeah, that's true. And we're going to dive into that all right now. We got a big show to unpack, so let's jump in here, folks. It is time for the biggest storylines.
Biggest storylines.
All right. Let's rip the Band-Aid off. Oregon beats Penn State 30-24 in double overtime. Drew Aller throws a game-losing interception at the start of the second overtime after they had battled back. The offense looked anemic. Oregon goes up, 13-3? I'm forgetting now. I'm trying to block this game out. No, 17-3. And Penn State, fourth quarter, just boom, boom, boom. Offense finally comes to life. They tie this thing up. They score to force this thing to overtime. They take the lead, actually. Defense can't hold on. Looks like there's the fumble. It's going to end this thing. Doesn't happen. Another loss for James Franklin against a top 10 school. That is now a record of 4-21. They're fire Franklin fans going out to the stadium when they're losing. It's a deflating loss. Dan Lanning looks like he's freaking Tony Montana in the post-game interview. I mean, they were pumped up at Oregon. Dante Moore, incredible. Tyson, I got a lot that I want to get off my chest, mainly about Penn State, and kind of apologize to Dante Moore. But I want to throw it to you because I want to hear what your thoughts are on what you saw out of this game.
Well, I'll go the other way. Then the Dan Lanning gets these dudes ready to roll every time, and they came out and punched Penn State in the mouth, and it took an awesome effort, to tie the game. But like all year since this game's been scheduled, since Oregon's been in the Big Ten, it's like they got to go to. It's going to be whiteout. They got to go handle that at Penn State. Like, how's that going to go? I think that question's answered. I don't think you can say anything about a Dan Lanning team, like if they go into the shoe or they go play Michigan or whatever it is, like, oh, this is going to be intimidating. Dante Moore lit it up. That run game, it was 8 yards a pop for a little while. Penn State couldn't get after the passer in a way that they want to, and in a way that like this defense needs to do in order for them to win a national championship. So I was as impressed with Oregon as anything, and I'm going to leave the Penn State stuff for you because I know there's a lot.
Well, I was impressed with Dante Moore. I mean, the reason why I thought Penn State was going to win this game is because I don't know what he's going to look like in this environment. He was not good at UCLA in big moments. Well, Tyson, that they say things can change. You can mature when you get older. And this is a guy who's been out of sight, out of mind. He's just been in the Oregon system developing. And he was ready for this year after learning behind Dylan Gabriel. And he was incredible. I mean, making big plays, never seemed rushed, was always finding the next read, was in control. And this is a 5-star talented kid. He's got the pedigree. You just didn't see it on the field. While Dante Moore is showing like he could be the number 1 pick in the draft in 2 years. I mean, he's that good of a player, and he's the Heisman favorite right now, and I think for good reason. So everything went off of what he was able to do. The run game, Penn State was giving it to Oregon in a way. They wanted to stop the explosive runs or the explosive pass, excuse me. But Dante Moore still found a way. It was super impressive. On the flip side, for Tyson, there's a lot of stuff like Penn State. You can't get it done. That's always like kind of irked me, because it's like Penn State always plays Ohio State in games that they're never expected to win. And that's where a lot of the 4-21 against top 10 teams comes from. It's Penn State having to play Ohio State, who has better players, who's expected to win. And I think that's where kind of the unfair narrative or the narrative comes from. But when you're favored in a wideout at home that you've been pushing for, you are the team that's expected to win, and you lose again where your offense looks horrible. It's just no longer that you can sit back and say, well, this is unfair, because this is the reality. And James Franklin said it after the game. He's like, it's not a narrative anymore. It's factual. And I think that's where we all are at the Penn State community. And, some people in the national media, well, we've been trying to tell you guys this. Well, maybe so. And I think a lot of it's still a little bit slanted the other way. But this is just a tough pill to swallow for Penn State, man. And the fire Franklin chants, I think, were super warranted because of how much emphasis was put on this game, how poor that offense looked. And that was just a horrendous look coming out of a bye for them to look that inept on offense.
I mean, starting the game, that was like, it was a head scratch. It was like, this is one of those teams certainly looked like they were coming off of a bye. And like Penn State just looked shell-shocked to start. That was weird.
Here's the other thing I want to say too. I'm so done with the Andy Koldenicki is just this incredible offensive coordinator thing. He showed some stuff at Buffalo. That's a MAC school, okay? Showed some stuff at Kansas. Tyson, that's freaking flag football at that level, man. We have seen this offense regress continuously this season. And yes, you don't have Tyler Warren, and that's going to be huge. But if you can't scheme up like guys getting open, and it seems like he was the only person that was open, maybe because he's just that good. Like that's what we're kind of here with. And I understand people are putting this on Drew Aller, and Drew Aller wasn't great. He's come up small in big moments a ton, and I'll get to more of him later in the show. But if you're going to be this hot shot coordinator, like everybody's saying, I went through the tape, and there's like a great film analysis over at On3 that I dove into. Tyson, there is nobody open. Like the same route concept. Oregon, who is full of great defensive staff, Lanning and his defensive coordinator, they knew exactly what Penn State was going to run. They've been running it for 2 years. Like, if you can't figure this out, if you're Andy Koldenicki, at this point, when people have tape on your offense, what the hell are you doing at this level? And I'm serious. And if you can't figure out how to use Drew Aller the right way, like we saw it in the fourth quarter, like I understand this is your offense, that's how things are going to work, but then you're not a great offensive coordinator. If you can't adjust, and we have not seen him able to adjust, and that, is it all him? Is it Franklin? I don't know. But the fact of the matter is this is not good enough. And it's unacceptable. If you're a team that wants to be competing and winning for national championships, you cannot show up with that offensive game plan off a bye and then not adjust it. Like, it was crazy, Tyson. I've never seen anything like it. That was the worst offensive display I've seen as a Penn State fan in over a decade. It was completely unimaginable.
That might be the moment talking a little with the over a decade thing, because there's been some bad ones, brother, over the last 10 years. But it felt that way, and it certainly shouldn't have for Penn State. It just was like, what's his number? What's Franklin's record against top 10 opponents when Penn State's in top 10?
When they're also in the top 10? I'm not sure on that.
Like that. That's the one thing that I think is worth maybe a little bit more consideration than like just his overall flat number against top 10 schools. Because some of them, like, they go in outgunned, and I'm not holding it against James Franklin for those ones, but these are consistently big spots where you're catching Ohio State at home and the offense is horrible. You're catching Michigan at home and the offense is like, it's the same conversation with this over and over and over again. I know that you appreciated the fire Franklin chance. Do you believe it?
So I was talking to a bunch of my friends after the game, Tyson, and I am now in the camp where I will no longer be defending James Franklin, that he shouldn't be fired.
Okay.
We're just at a point where this thing's plateaued. Now, it's difficult because the buyout's huge. It's like 54, 56 million, something like that. They're not going to fire him. The recruiting is too good for them to justify firing him now. Do we miss on a couple cycles? Do we want to eat shit for a couple years? But I am of the firm belief now that I don't know if Penn State can win a national championship with James Franklin in charge. So I'm not going to be crying tears if he's let go. Let's put it that way. I'm in that camp now. Do I think it's feasible? No, because I'm a realist. I understand how this stuff works at this level. But to answer your question, if Penn State actually wants to get to the next level, I think you have to look at somebody else besides James Franklin.
And they need to decide if they're okay with the level that they're at. Dude, it's a scary drop off, but maybe a jump they need to take, because this is we get on NFL teams for it. We get on college programs a little differently, I think. But like it's the same movie over and over and over again.
Yeah, and you can't have that. So that's me getting stuff off my chest there. Shout out to Oregon, though. They really handled it. Dan Lanning, he's a prick. But man, he's awesome. Like as a football coach, you need that. You win football games, man. And it's all about those guys in the locker room. He doesn't care what I think about him. He doesn't care about it's what the families, it's what the players, it's what the Oregon people think. And that's how you build a culture. That's how you build a program. And we are seeing that at Oregon. So impressive win from the Ducks. I think they're the best team in the country. I think they might have the best quarterback in the country too. Let's get into this. LSU loses to Ole Miss. Now, this is your team. I'm going to give you the floor on this one. I'll just kind of give you what I thought here. I was shocked that the offense still looked this poor. I was shocked that the running game was still this bad. I don't know if this is a Nussmeier thing. I don't know if we all thought like he was better than what he actually is like a couple years ago. Is this on Brian Kelly? I don't know because we saw the offense cook under Jaden Daniels. We also saw the offense cook under Deshaun Kaiser and other quarterbacks at Notre Dame. So I think I have more faith in Brian Kelly's ability to be an elite offensive mind than what we're seeing from Nussmeier. Is that fair? I don't know. Maybe his offense is outdated. And on the flip side, Lane Kiffin, man, he's starting to win these big games. And the Chambliss kid, boy, did they luck into something. Because I think if they would have kept going with Austin Simmons, I don't know if they would have been this good. Chambliss gives them a great shot to win. And this is a big win for Lane Kiffin.
It was huge. I was saying the whole lead up that like it's super Ole Miss to win this game, for Chambliss to look awesome and to be week 5. And I still am firmly in the camp that I don't think Ole Miss can win a national championship either. But they were the better team on Saturday, like the whole time. It just felt like LSU was lucky to be in that game sometimes, and that might not be how it felt for everybody. I'm just giving my perspective. This offense is so incomplete, and like. I'm not going to, after you complain about Golden Nicky, I'm not going to sit here, and compare apples to apples, but like those weren't Joe Sloan offenses that we remember cooking with Malik Neighbors and Jaden Daniels. Last year, though, like Nuss averaged 300 yards a game, and that just doesn't look the same. It's the same coordinator, same scheme. These weapons are too good, for this offense to look this bad. And the defense, for as much as, I still think they're one of the better units in the country, dude, they missed a ton of tackles. Like some of that is Chambliss being awesome and some of these Ole Miss guys making plays. And some of it was just Whit Weeks was in the wrong spot on the run fill. Or Harold Perkins was just a step slow, getting to the quarterback when he's spying. There was a lot that I think you can take from this game. But most of all, to me, was like LSU looks a heck closer to a heck of a lot closer to who we thought they might be after that Clemson game than who we thought they might be coming into the season. This offense is not rounded into form. They absolutely cannot run the ball. Brian Kelly can hit the table and yell about it as much as he wants, but this is a consistent trend now here for the LSU Tigers in his tenure, their inability to kind of get things going on the ground and also, a stubbornness to make it work. That I think is admirable. And like, that's how you win football games. And so I'm not going to be like, no, don't run the ball 25, 30 times a game. It's not the NFL. Sometimes in college, these teams run it 40 times. We just talked about the Penn State Oregon game. Oregon runs the ball 39 times. Penn State runs it 35. That's a high level game. That's like how these things are played at the top. You got to run the ball and they can't.
I think a lot of it has to do with this offensive line too.
It's tough. When your center is your best offensive lineman, it can work out at the NFL level. You are in trouble in college football.
And, Tyson, I also wonder, too, did we Clemson's defensive line, yes, it came in with high preseason expectations. They have not performed to the level that we thought. So did that give them a bump? And then, Florida, I thought, LSU performed admirably against Florida. That is a good defense on that side. Mm-hmm. But did that kind of give us a bump where, like, this offensive line is performing much better than we anticipated coming in with all these guys? It's just not there yet right now. Will that change on the stretch? Sure, it could. But I think right now you saw just a massive weakness on full display for LSU. And that makes it hard for Nussmeier, right? I mean, similar to Drew Aller, and I'll talk about it later. It's hard to play quarterback when you're pressured.
That's true, but this is, we've had years of this now with Garrett Nussmeier where like you're just waiting for the last little piece to the puzzle to be able to really stamp it and say, okay, this guy should go number 1 in the draft, or this guy should be a top 10 pick. But instead we're like putting these things on him that like, oh, he's going to grow into a guy that doesn't make the wrong decision, sometimes more than he makes the right decision in game. And he's had some horrible interceptions and some really bad, idea of a throw, and like he's gotten away with some drop ones too. These guys are open. Like, and the ball is just not being delivered on. And sometimes Aaron Anderson is not open. Throw the ball to him anyways. And like that's kind of the part of this LSU offense where it's like this is it's a tight end motion to pick up 2 yards here on 1st and 10. This is what they're behind schedule consistently. They've been behind schedule all season long. But these third downs, the percentage is the percentage. But when they're 3rd and 9 plus consistently, that's as much a coaching problem as it is a quarterback problem. It's just Nuss isn't helping out the coaches either.
Tyson and I are literally talking about the same team here. I mean, Penn State gets behind the sticks against Oregon. They can't convert. Drew Aller not really getting help from the coaching staff. Also not helping himself out because he's missing throws. It's the same thing with Nussmeier and what we're seeing for LSU. But Aaron Anderson, 2 catches? Come on, man. You got to find him a way to get the ball. Coaching and quarterback.
In a year that doesn't have a true like runaway Heisman guy by week 5, can Trinidad Chambliss steal this thing even though he didn't play to start the year?
If they go undefeated and he's got better numbers than Dante Moore at the end of it, I think so.
That's because it's Dante Moore's award to lose right now, but that started to solidify itself this week. You know what I mean? Some years like we're looking at guys already, and the dudes at the top of the chart fell off. This guy is electric. He is special, and Lane Kiffin got himself one. It's unfortunate, for other quarterbacks at Ole Miss, but it's tough for the rest of the country to deal with.
Let's move into this, and we're going to get into the leftovers. Alabama beats Georgia again, man. I mean, if Ohio State is Penn State's kryptonite, then frickin' Alabama is Georgia's. And it does not matter who's on the sideline, apparently, because Alabama did it again, dude. And they did it in a different way. It was a lightning up and down first half, and then at the end, it turned into the old SEC football. I mean, it was crazy.
Kalen DeBoer's got a little of that juice back, it looked like to me. Looked a little freer.
Ryan Grubb, too, really good game plan. And, the adjustments, I think, Kirby's a really good adjuster on his end. And, Alabama did enough where they were able to win this game. You'd like to get some points in the second half, of course, but I'm with you. That coaching staff feels like they got a little bit going again. And,
this is a weird thing. Dude, Georgia, didn't get plays off in this football game. Georgia didn't have the ball. It felt like, in this football game, I think they ran just around 50 plays, which is strange. And they only had 8 third downs. This whole thing, it just is mind blowing to look at some of these raw numbers. But at the end of the game, it was Georgia just doesn't have enough. Their issues are a lot deeper maybe than certainly I thought. I thought, these are just early season blemishes, but some of these things are warts, brother. And that offensive line is a problem.
And their defensive line too. They cannot get pressure. I mean, Ty Simpson was incredible. I jumped the gun a little, Tyson, and I think everybody did with the overreaction. Is Bama? Is it kind of we're at? They're back to 3-1. They're 1-0 in the SEC to beat Georgia on the road. Ty Simpson looks like a guy. Looks like the 5-star that he was. Looks like he's been sitting and waiting for his moment. And yes, he had a bad game his first start, pretty much. His first start against a notable school on the road, and now he goes back, and it seems like he's settled in, and it feels like it's off and running for this offense. Now, their running game, I'm concerned. Jan Miller is supposed to figure everything out and fix everything. 16 for 46, that's not great. Now we'll see against some other against some other defenses. Tyson, I'll throw this back to you here, though. How in the hell do you give up 7 yards per carry for Alabama's defense? This defense is not fixed. I don't care. It says they gave up 7 points in the second half. I don't care. It says they gave up 21 points. Gunnar Stockton was not good in this one. I've been trying to tell everybody who would listen. Carson Beck is still a better option than Gunnar Stockton. I know you think he's a dick and he's a douche and all that stuff. Carson Beck's a better quarterback than Gunnar Stockton. I don't care the snake oil you're trying to sell me down there in Athens. And Gunnar Stockton was missing guys wide open all night.
It was rough, yeah.
How do you give Chauncey Bowens, Tyson, with 10 yards per carry, just 12 carries? He ran for 120 and a touchdown. How is he not toting the rock more, man?
That was tough, but the insistent spreading it out amongst everybody, it wasn't like there was a clear 2 here. It was just everybody else is going to get the ball 5 times, and that's the way that we're going to do things. That was weird, but I think it all boils down to the Gunnar Stockton. We thought, maybe we didn't think, but them winning national championships with Stetson Bennett kind of broke the perception of like what is required here. Those teams were all time good on the defensive end. Stetson Bennett was an all time good college football player. Everyone knew it wasn't going to work out in the NFL, but that dude was like they didn't score 62 against TCU just because of how good that defense was. Like he was pushing the ball all over the field. They don't have the ability to do that right now. Like they flat out don't have the ability to generate explosives through the air, and you can't win national championships that way.
No, and just there's been a drop off on the level of athlete at Georgia. We still got NFL
all
guys
over the field.
It's not the collection of talent that they had when they were running the sport. And I don't know if it's NIL. I don't know if other programs, the SEC, they're recruiting the same guys. And, everybody's kind of back on the even playing field again. And so you don't get some guys, or you don't want to sit. Some of these guys don't want to sit anymore. Like, I don't want to go sit for 2 years at Georgia. I'm going to go play immediately my freshman year. And then I can transfer up if I want. So it's a different game in college football. And I think it is impacting recruiting. But it's clear that Georgia doesn't have the best players on the field at all times anymore. Like, Tyson, Alabama might have the better roster in this game.
Well, yeah. We'll find out in April, I think. It's close.
The last thing here on this game, and then we'll get into leftovers. I don't think either of these teams are done for the playoff conversation, right? I mean,
we'll find
Alabama
out.
Certainly won't, but I mean, I should say Georgia.
Alabama could be done. Diego Pavia, he walks in that building. We're building a statue in a week. Like that's on the table. Vanderbilt looks awesome. We're not getting out of here without shouting out the Caden Proctor screen. That's one of the best plays I've ever seen, and I think he houses that thing like in 51 universes. We just happen to live in one of the 49. He doesn't.
All right, let's roll into the leftovers here, Tyson. We're just going to hit some quick hitters. We'll do more on Florida State, Virginia at the end and our superlatives. TCU, Arizona State. Man, Arizona State and Kenny Dillingham continue to win close games. Like, it's the opposite of Scott Frost at Nebraska. This guy does not lose close games, and they win 27-24 and just an insane ending.
And Ohio State takes care of business against Washington. I thought that was notable. I mean, it was scary for a second, and then they pulled it. It was like, okay, yeah, this team does look like one that's a real threat here at the top of the country.
Yeah, and Washington, I think, is a good team, and I shouted out Jed Fish last week on the program. They're not ready to compete with Ohio State yet. That's just the reality of the situation. But I thought they showed some good fight there. Indiana goes on the road, handles Iowa in what was a scary game. It should have been 20-13, but Mendoza goes back, takes a sack with 0 seconds left in the end zone, so there's a safety, blah, blah, blah. It does not matter at all. But, to go on the road at Kinnick, not play your best and survive that, you have to do that if you're one of the top teams in the country, and Cignetti continues to do that with his school.
Over and over and over again. Illinois beats the number one offense in the country in the Southern California in USC. Well, I mean, what do you think?
Nailed shot at me, folks.
That wasn't even veiled, dude. That was iron sights.
They scored 32 though. USC, you're acting like they didn't do anything.
Hey, they lost the game. That was a great game. And look, it just kind of goes to show that college football is funny. Like, Illinois can get destroyed, and then these kids can just like show back up and beat whoever in the country the next week. BYU beating Colorado, I thought was noteworthy, but not quite as noteworthy, Brad, as Notre Dame putting the boots to Arkansas.
Yeah, got Sam Pittman fired. Bobby Petrino's taken over. Not sure what the plan is down there in Fayetteville, but Notre Dame looks like they're out for blood, Tyson. I mean, that defense, I don't want to say it figured it out, because I think Arkansas's offense, while it can put up points, it also is inconsistent at times. But Notre Dame's offense is freaking insane, especially when you're going up against a team that can't stop the run. So Notre Dame, they got their work cut out for them if they're going to be playing in the CFP this year. That's going to be a team to watch. I think they're going to put up a ton of points, but I'm with you, Tyson. That was certainly notable, and that got things going in the early window. How about Mississippi State giving Tennessee everything they wanted and more? I wanted Mississippi State to win, not just because, whatever. I don't really care about Tennessee or anti-Josh Heupel or anything, but Jeff Levy to do what that Mississippi State team was last year and do what they're doing this year, where they could have been 5-0 with an upset over a top 15 team. I mean, that would have been sick.
And on the flip side, Tennessee seems pretty comfortable playing these 40 to 34 games. Pittman getting fired. Dude, how about – we haven't done a show since Grantham got canned. A defensive coordinator, right, at Oklahoma State. How come he lasts a week longer than Gundy? Like, what is that about?
I don't know. I don't know what's going on over there, man.
And with Grantham's track record, he will be the defensive coordinator for Utah when Scally takes over. Cal wins in the late window. That was pretty cool. But yeah, not a ton else really to write home about. Did you have any fun watching the Stanford San Jose State game?
I didn't watch, dude. I was too distraught.
That's true. I mean, that's a tough place to be. I will say before we get out of the leftovers, the Montana Grizzlies put the boots to the Idaho Vandals and retained the Lil Brown Stein. It turns out that when you have the best player at the FCS level, and Eli Gilman, giving him the ball is a good idea. And yeah, he's the best player at the FCS level.
There we go. Tyson was trying to figure out how to work it in. That was a perfect way to work it in. As we get to our superlatives now, and we're going to start off with "I Told You So."
I told you so.
Folks, I don't know if it's because I'm now bald like Clark Lee, but I've been trying to tell you, Vanderbilt under Clark Lee is real. And I've been following this program for a little bit just because I like what they've been building. It's Vanderbilt. It's like a sick school. They're getting guys in the transfer portal that they wouldn't get out of high school. We've talked about the strategy, how they are building this way instead of just solely focusing on adding high school recruits. They're using their money, and they're going to get established guys who are older at the college level. Well, we'll see how it looks after Pavia leaves. And my God, these 2 years have been awesome. They're scoring a ton of points. They're establishing a culture. And Clark Lee is flat out a great coach. And this is awesome to see for Vandy.
And it's also awesome to see somebody figured out you can just roster a team full of 25-year-olds and dominate college football. They might be older than the Green Bay Packers on average down at Vandy. I told you so. I'm keeping it simple. I've been pounding the drum as Dan Lanning is one of the best coaches in the country. I said 2 years ago last year when they joined the Big Ten that I thought he was the best coach in the Big Ten. You push back, and then he goes out and wins the title, but Ryan Day wins the national championship. I am still on this island. I am not selling any stock. I think that Oregon is not. This is not a Chip Kelly into Mark Helfrich or whatever era. He is setting them up for some sustained levels of success here. This Oregon Ducks team, as long as Dan Lanning is involved in this program, is going to be a top 5 team year over year. Yeah,
I agree with that. He's an incredible coach, elite recruiter. They're super young, Oregon is. They got more money than God with Phil Knight writing checks. So this is a problem for everybody else in the country. Let's get into where we got to admit we were wrong on something, Tyson.
I've made a huge mistake.
Hand up.
This is going to pain me, but I've been wrong on Drew Aller, guys. Maybe a lot of you are coming to that conclusion before me. And I will give this with the caveat. I don't think we've seen the best of Drew Aller because I don't think this offense is set up for him. If it's RPO heavy, if you need a running quarterback to run Kotelnicki's offense. Again, I gave my piece on Kotelnicki. I think that you can't just be a one-trick pony if we want to call you an elite coordinator. So I want to say that with a grain of salt, or at least with Drew Aller. I think he's still going to be a good NFL quarterback. I know people are pushing back on that now, like, oh, this and that. I mean, you see the tools, you see what he can do. Where I've been wrong with Drew Aller, though, it's just he hasn't improved in the 4 years, Tyson. Like, it's just the same level, and he's the same guy that showed up on campus is the same guy we have now. And he makes mistakes in the big moments. He's afraid to make mistakes in the other moments. He's not seeing the field well. He gets too hurried in the pocket. And it's just like, dude, you're supposed to be the senior quarterback. You're supposed to be comfortable at this stage by now. We haven't seen it yet. Is that going to change in the NFL with better coaching? Perhaps. But I gotta admit, man, I was completely wrong on Drew Aller.
There's like 3 or 4 guys this year that are kicking themselves for not coming out a year ago in the NFL draft. He's, top of the – dude, he was like 8th in odds to go first overall when we didn't know if he was coming out or not. That's nuts to think about right now because this kid's not going number 1 in the NFL draft. My hand up is I'm sticking with the theme. The LSU Tigers are incomplete, and they're not a threat to win the national championship as we sit here after week 5. Like, it's a Brian Kelly football team. That's what it feels like.
It's unfortunate. I love BK. We'll see if Tyson's still in that camp. It feels like he's kind of out of that camp. He's been towing that line. He might be out of it now. We'll see how they finish.
Did you see Ed Ogeron getting the people fired up at the Ryder Cup before it got going? And then everyone's confused why the fans are acting the way they were. You let Coach O loose in there and then got upset that they were yelling the things he probably told them to say.
He might have. He's a crazy guy. All right, let's get to the donkey of the day.
Donkey of the day.
And this is kind of maybe a cop out here, but I'm the donkey of the day for believing in Penn State again. You can only be Charlie Brown and have the football pulled out by Lucy so many times, and I continue to line back up and act like I'm going to kick a field goal. And I keep falling on my ass.
It's not even a ball anymore, brother.
Boy, Tyson. Donkey of the day to me for getting my hopes up again that this team could actually win a big game.
Well, that's good because my donkey today is us as a collective. The Arizona State over in the TCU game, if you guys are paying attention to any of our gambling stuff a week ago, just came out with maybe the most, I said what I said, outcome of all time. Brad gets to go to the game. He is seated in like the third row. He's touching the players. Him and James Harden are hanging out. It's a crazy time to be Brad. And then like the over is dead and we're not even sniffing it. And then, we're going to get there. And then TCU throws an interception, and it looks like it's going to be a pick six, and this thing's going to cash. And Arizona State goes down. Brad, where did they go down at on the field?
I think it was the 30 or something like that, or maybe it was the 20. I forget now.
Where were you seated?
Well, I was on the 1 yard line, and when they were pushing it in inside the 5 yard line, with what you just need a touchdown, Tyson and I did to go over the total. Arizona State tried their hardest to get in there. They couldn't score. Finally, on the QB sneak it on fourth down. I don't know what this ref saw. False start, blah, blah, blah. So they scored, by the way. Then they took it off the board because there was a false start. So they have to kick a field goal. Then we thought we were going to get a pick six. Guy kneels it, and we're dead.
And I'm not done. Brutal. I'm not done there because Brad's day is, not yet over. He's going to go out and he's going to hang out with some of these good folks in Tempe. He's going to see what the town has to offer. And he's watching this Houston game in Oregon State at the bar. And he leaves just before the game's over because sometimes you got to get home, folks, okay? It's a long day, and we need to go to bed after that throw-up inducing over does not hit. And today is when Brad finds out that Houston wins the football game because he took off from the bar. And not only all of that, but the Arizona State TCU over was the first leg in our parlay for our gambling stuff that does not hit. And we have to sit there and watch the rest of the legs cash, for the rest of the weekend. It was a Penn State lost, LSU lost. It was the Mets choked in game 162. It was us all day, brother.
It was brutal. I mean, we are the donkeys of the day for the week, man, because we can't – not that it was our doing, besides maybe me leaving a little bit early, the Houston game, but my God, how many kicks in the nuts can you take?
Leaving early from the bar is always going to be a grown-up move.
All right, let's close out here. Last superlative as we got to give out the upset of the week.
Upset of the week.
And it's Virginia taking down Florida State. And I got to admit, I had to rewatch this game because I was at the TCU Arizona State game. So I'm getting some texts. I'm like, boy, this is kind of close. And Tyson's texting me. Some of my other friends text me like, man, Virginia might be able to do this. But I get a bunch of texts when it happens. Oh, my God, Virginia. They're storming the field. I'm like, oh, geez, I got to go rewatch this. And it was crazy. Tyson, this is another example of college football on big nights, on big game days. If you have a competent quarterback like Chandler Morris is, you could beat a bunch of people, and it's more of like the NFLification of college football, where the playing field's starting to even out a little bit with NIL. Florida State kicked Bama's ass, and we're all looking like, are they going to win the ACC? And then Virginia, who everybody's been dumping on for a long time under Tony Ellis' tenure, they go out and take down Florida State. I mean, that is college football. That was a great moment.
And Brad tried to talk me into this one a little bit last week for the parlay for Virginia to cover, and we didn't do it. And turns out, they just go out and win the game. Yeah, Chandler Morris was awesome. The donkey today maybe should have been the security at that game because that storming into the field was like both awesome, to look at. Like that's got to be such a fun time. Also pretty concerning. Like I think that one of those Florida State dudes just got trampled. There's 1,000 kids rushing directly over top of you. Somebody's running by, videotaping it because that's what we have to do now. Videotaping himself, flip off. Castellanos. That was all-time college football moment. I think that was like when we watch old clips in black and white, and we're like, wow, that looks unsafe. That's what's going to happen in like 20 years from now.
Yeah, I think that was not a great moment for the field storming. I mean, you got to have a better way than that. I mean, yeah, Squirrel White seemed like he got trampled. I forget if it was Chris Budden who was the sideline reporter, but I think he said there were no injuries and he was fine. So I have no clue how.
I don't know how he stood up that fast. Also, I mean, if that's all true, which I think it is. We haven't heard anything at this point. Maybe a little salute to the Virginia student section for not, there's a hey, when I was 18, I don't know what I would have done running on that field. I know that.
Yeah, I don't know. So there we go. That's going to do it here, folks. Another weekend of college football in the books. This was a great one. We got a ton more coming out, especially with football coverage on the NFL side of things too. So like, subscribe, and share the show. Smash the like button on the way out if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe so you don't miss a single thing that we're doing here on the YouTube channel. Share it with a friend, with an enemy, a coworker. Now that you're back in the office, coming off this weekend, all that good stuff. We will continue to break things down going forward until we get into this weekend where we'll give out our picks, try to make you guys some money. Till then, guys, peace.